Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Because of the Thanksgiving break, General Hospital had a short week. Nevertheless, despite the fact that last week seemed to drag on forever, it was a good and extremely emotional week. The big reunions won't happen until next week, but Lulu is finally back. It appears that the yearly Quartermain Thanksgiving catastrophe will also occur at that time. We wouldn't be denied singing and pizza by the show, would we? On the lam, Lulu. I talked about the possible causes of Cyrus's sudden, unsettling fixation with Lulu last week. Other than his statement that he has been the only person there for her while Laura and Lucky have been busy elsewhere, we still don't have any answers. This week, when Cyrus intended to move Lulu from Turning Woods to a facility in South Carolina, things took an even stranger turn. What? How exactly was he going to tell Laura that? Lulu quickly fled, but Cody was there to handily pick her up from the side of the road. Like many of the viewers, I wondered why Cody didn't recognize Lulu. He must have seen a picture of her. Additionally, he was there at the hospital when she was there before to the procedure. Maybe he couldn't identify Lulu because of her hoodie. Perhaps it functions similarly to Clark Kent's glasses. In any case, the fact that Cody was the one to assist her simply shouted, possible future love connection. It may make for an intriguing love triangle when Dante is included. Cyrus was told to keep away from Lulu by Lucky, who appeared to finally stand up and offered to assist Liz discover what had happened to Sam. But Cyrus scolded Lucky and Good, urging them not to lecture him about family when he hasn't been home for 10 years and can hardly see his own son. The truth is painful. Perhaps Uncle Cyrus's reprimands will help him stop being such a man-child. Lulu ran throughout Port Charles in the suspenseful Friday episode, bewildered by how much had changed. To be honest, I was afraid she would run across Cyrus, who would imprison her and prolong this plot. I was so relieved that didn't occur. When she returned home, a mature James informed her that she was actually in his home. From the floor is lava game to James screaming, stranger danger, at Lulu, James and Maxie's interactions this week were a lot of fun. After that, Lulu went to the Quartermain estate, the only other house she was familiar with, where she met up with her son, Rocco. Lulu is most likely now recognizing that a significant amount of time has gone if she hadn't already. We will have to wait 4 long days for the show to return so we can see Lulu reconcile with her other family members and friends, but it was a terrific holiday weekend cliffhanger. Liz, Cyrus, and Lucky all learned that Lulu was awake and had left Turning Woods by the end of the week. When James recognized Lulu as the person who broke into their house, Maxie and Spinelli appeared to have been tipped out about her return. A lot of viewers have commented on how strange Laura's most recent absence from this plot is. She was preoccupied with her duties as mayor, missed Sam's funeral, and now her daughter is missing. Thankfully, Laura is back and assisting Lucky in finding Lulu, according to the preview for next week. The baby drama starts. Given her one-night fling with Michael, the majority of us anticipated that Sasha would become pregnant, and here she is. There is currently no way to keep Willow's name out of Michael's affair if he comes open with her. However, unless Sasha intends to conceal her pregnancy behind large pots and pans in the Quartermain kitchen, she must first inform Michael about the baby. Just as it was announced that Michael's actor Chad Duell was quitting the program, Sasha's pregnancy was revealed. Furthermore, it doesn't seem like the character will be recast. They are writing Michael out instead. Given that Michael would never desert his children or their mother, it is impossible to predict how this would turn out. That in itself might imply that the authors might, eradicate him. Of course, we're also referring to Sasha here. If she's lucky, her worries that this baby may pass away like Liam did might come true. Worse, Sasha might give birth and both she and the infant might die. Though that would be terrible, remember that this is Sasha, and the only thing the authors haven't done to make her suffer any more is to murder her. Everyone is still waiting for Willow to reveal that she, too, has a bun in the oven. She alone will be unaware of which baker placed it there. Court order. Since Ava is such a strong character, I doubt that any viewers believe she will be found guilty of Christina's baby's death. Furthermore, Ava is, for once, not guilty of the offense for which she is being charged. It was difficult to watch Rick ruin her up there, even though we knew Christina would fuck it up on the stand, favoring Ava. My list of potential outcomes did not include Natalia testifying against herself on behalf of Christina. Sunny and Natalia are obviously trying to get closer, but I also hope Blaze/Allison will find out what her mother did for Christina. That could be the first step toward her going back to Port Charles. I'm not sure if Christina will accept the verdict that the jury returns, but I hope she can. It's time for Christina and Molly to move on because her resentful, angry behavior has grown annoying. At least Molly appears to have accepted that no one person is to blame for this major catastrophe, which was caused by the decisions of many others. Rick selected this case because of his argument and the fact that it seemed to speak to her. He has consistently expressed his hope that Molly will be able to move on from this. If only Christina could follow suit now. That concludes this week's views and opinions from me. Even if you disagree with mine, please leave a comment below with yours. And to those who are celebrating, Happy Thanksgiving! Holly from General Hospital has a lot to be grateful for this year, possibly more than many others. At least Holly was able to get back together with Robert, tell him they had a daughter, and ride off into the sunset with him even if she destroyed her daughter's life and her relationship with Cody. There is no doubt that things are improving. But after everything that's happened, it might take some time to get Sasha to like her. However, Emma Sams is going through a more difficult period in real life than her character is because she recently had to say goodbye to her dog, Willis, a cherished family member. I'm afraid I have some bad news, she posted on Instagram. We were forced to bid Willis farewell yesterday. Like most terriers, he was the walking incarnation of a Napoleon complex. He was also extremely cute, constantly cranky, and spent 90% of his existence on someone's lap, he didn't care whose. He was aware of how much he was liked. Ultimately, that is all we can aspire for in our dogs. Check out her departure and the series of incredibly cute pictures of Willis below. Even yet, we should always be grateful for the lifetime of love we have with our four-legged children. Yes, we are aware that Thanksgiving is not observed in the UK, but as the holiday season approaches, it is always worthwhile to reflect on the positive aspects of our lives over the past 12 months. Furthermore, even though losing a pet can be extremely traumatic, the love they provide to our lives endures forever. Robert Scorpio and Holly Sutton, who have been in and out of love, said they would return to Port Charles after walking off into the sunset on the November 12th episode of General Hospital. Will they return, though? A conclusion to Casablanca? Robert and Holly actually walked off into the fog on an airstrip as color gave way to a black and white sepia tone, even though the sunset was literally a sunset. After more than 40 years of misery, did this mean that Robert and Holly were finally receiving their happily ever after? Is it true that Robert and Holly will never be seen again, as a happily ever after would suggest? For Sasha, the daughter we didn't know they had until 3 weeks ago, they will undoubtedly return to Port Charles. Are Tristan Rogers and Emma Sams no longer employed at General Hospital? When Holly and Robert boarded that aircraft, neither Emma Sams nor Tristan Rogers had long-term commitments with GH. Rogers can make another appearance at any time because he has been on recurring status with the serial opera for years. Sams, who was born in the UK, has been open about her battles with long COVID and how hard it is for her to work for extended periods of time. Holly has been coming and going for the past few years because of this, but Sams hasn't ruled out a comeback. My experience was really positive. Sams told Soap Opera Digest, everyone there, including the camera crew, wardrobe staff, and hair and makeup artists, just made it feel so comfortable for me to be there. It is such a privilege for them to allow me to live my life in England and still continue to return, and I am aware that no other acting career would even come close to feeling as at ease as that. To be able to accomplish that, certain complicated plot points are required, and I am very happy that they are willing to do so. Being in this position somehow makes me feel like the luckiest actress in the world. How about Sasha? The fact that GH gave Sasha parents at last and then left town before further their relationship did seem odd. Not just any parents either. The renowned soap opera pair Robert and Holly have only one child, Sasha. Sams adores this surprising plot surprise, but there is still so much to discover from that revelation. It makes her want to come back. For me as Emma, purely selfishly, it gives me a great excuse to keep coming back to Port Charles. Sam said. The idea that Holly shows up in town and causes all kinds of havoc is one that it does fit with, you know? Story-wise, that's what she's there for, and she's certainly succeeded this time. For the time being, Sasha can get to know her new family's other Scorpio members. Mac's close friend Maxie is now her cousin, and she now has a new niece to care for. Sasha will require all the help she can get if, as predicted, she becomes pregnant with Michael's child. Sasha's possible pregnancy, Cody and Lulu's roadside encounter, and Rick breaks Christina on the stand. Sasha's confession to Maxie. Sasha Gilmore visits Maxie Jones with big news. She thinks she might be pregnant. Maxie, shocked but supportive, asks if Cody Bell is the father. Sasha clarifies that she and Cody never got that far. After breaking up with Cody, Sasha admits she had a one-night stand with someone else who was also struggling emotionally. She hasn't taken a test yet but confesses feeling off. Sasha is apprehensive about the possibility of pregnancy after losing her son, Liam. Maxie reassures her, offering support and reminding her that Felicia and Nina would also step in to help. While Sasha feels she could handle being a single mother, the thought of losing another child terrifies her. Maxie advises her to take things one step at a time. Their conversation is interrupted when James runs in with a scrape, a playful reminder of motherhood's daily challenges. Cody drives Lulu home. After escaping from Turning Woods during a false fire alarm, Lulu Spencer is found on the side of the road by Cody. Recognizing her distress, he offers her a ride. As they drive, Lulu refuses to share her address, wary of trusting a stranger. Cody reassures her, offering her cash and his address so she can repay him later. During their chat, they bond over horses and family, with Lulu expressing her excitement to reunite with her children. She mentions feeling like she's missed so much and laments her long absence. Though Cody offers to take her to the hospital, Lulu insists she's just cold and will be fine once home. Lucky investigates Lulu's disappearance. At Turning Woods, Lucky Spencer and Elizabeth Weber learn about Lulu's disappearance during the chaos of a false alarm. They discover Cyrus Renault was her last visitor, raising alarms about his involvement. Meanwhile, Lucky meets with Liz at Bobby's. He offers to stay in town if she needs him. While Liz is confident in her innocence regarding Sam McCall's death, she worries about her nurses being implicated. Lucky uses his investigative skills to uncover who last administered Sam's medication. It was Liz, but everything checks out so far. Rick's battle in the courtroom. In the ongoing trial, Rick Lansing sharpens his focus on dismantling Christina Corinthos Davis' credibility. Christina on the stand. Rick questions Christina about her actions and motives, accusing her of lying. When she doesn't answer, he reserves the right to recall her later. At their desk, Ava Jerome questions Rick's strategy, but he assures her he's setting the stage to shift blame for the tragedy onto Christina. When Rick finally recalls Christina to the stand, he questions her about her decision to raise her child alone after agreeing to give the baby to her sister. "I guess your word doesn't mean very much, does it?" he says, prompting a warning from the judge. Rick presses Christina to list all the grievances she holds against Ava, including past accusations of murder. Christina admits she hates Ava and once threatened her. Rick capitalizes on this, pointing out inconsistencies in Christina's police statements and her tendency to act emotionally. He submits affidavits from witnesses confirming Christina's public outbursts against Ava. Finally, Rick argues that Christina's actions directly led to her fall and her child's death. The DA objects, but Rick keeps pushing, asking Christina if she considered her baby's safety when confronting Ava. Christina breaks down, repeating that she didn't kill her daughter. Dante testifies. Detective Dante Falconeri takes the stand next. The DA questions him about Ava Jerome's inconsistent story and implies Dante acted suspiciously on the day of the accident. Rick objects, then turns the tables during cross-examination. He challenges Dante's decision not to let his partner handle Ava's questioning, citing Dante's bias due to Ava's strained relationship with his family. Dante reluctantly admits to harboring doubts about Ava, giving Rick the opening he needs to plant further doubt in the jury's mind. Michael and Drew's conflict. Elsewhere, Michael Corinthos confirms to Drew Quartermain that he told Jason Morgan about what happened between Drew and Willow Corinthos. However, Michael hadn't anticipated Jason's aggressive reaction. This revelation sets the stage for more tension between Port Charles's power players. Closing thoughts. The drama in Port Charles continues to escalate. Sasha faces life-altering news, Lulu inches closer to reuniting with her family, and Rick plays a dangerous game in the courtroom. With emotions running high and alliances shifting, everyone must prepare for the fallout. Lulu surprisingly gets back together with James and Maxie. Maxie looks at the picture James has pointed out in shock. "That isn't feasible," she mumbles. Lulu has visited Turning Woods. "But it's her," James interrupts. "She was present." Always the practical one, Spinelli leans in to look at the picture. "Maximista, it's possible that Lulu's recuperation went more quickly than anticipated or that someone else is attempting to give the impression that she's back." A knock on the door interrupts Maxie's processing of the revelation. Everyone goes cold. As Spinelli approaches the monitor that is attached to the newly installed security system, he notices a woman standing on the porch with her back to the camera. Bat in hand, Maxie cautiously approaches the door, only to be confronted by Lulu Spencer. Lulu trembles as she says, "Maxie, it's me. I need your assistance." Maxie pauses, feeling overpowered by the situation. "How did you get here, Lulu? How come no one called to inform me that you were returning home?" Lulu's face is streaming with tears. "I didn't really return home. I took off running. Something is going on at Turning Woods, and Cyrus was a part of it." The intrusion of Cyrus at Turning Woods. As Liz and Lucky figure out how Cyrus got access to Lulu, their anger intensifies. They go over to Laura, who is equally taken aback by the news. "I assumed there were safeguards in place to keep him away from her." Laura yells. Seething, Lucky says, "We're talking about Cyrus here. He bends the rules, not follows them." Laura puts pressure on the facility's administrator to expedite the footage. "You'll be held accountable if my daughter disappears due to your carelessness," she declares coldly. A nurse at Turning Woods, meantime, tells Liz that she's seen Cyrus talking to Lulu alone just before she vanished. The nurse remarks uneasily, "She looked scared, but he didn't seem aggressive." Lucky makes a commitment to find his sister and asks Dante and Sam to help. Sasha's confidence crisis. Still in shock from her last panic attack, Sasha withdraws to her apartment while Maxie copes with Lulu's return. As she looks in the mirror, she keeps thinking of Maxie's advice to act in your own best interests. "What if I can't do this?" she murmurs, her hand moving to her stomach. After Sasha's sudden departure earlier, Cody shows up out of the blue, anxious. She opens up about her worries about becoming a mother and the unsolved mystery surrounding the messages she has been getting. Sasha confesses, "I don't even know who I am anymore," with tears in her eyes. "When I'm barely able to keep myself together, how am I supposed to raise a child?" Cody grasps her hands. "Sasha, you underestimate your strength. And you're not the only one. We will determine the identity of the sender and ensure the safety of both you and this infant." Another menacing text message that Sasha receives interrupts their conversation. "Don't trust anyone, not even Cody. Ava's fate is decided by the jury." Ava Jerome sits calmly in court while the jury deliberates. Torn between wanting to help Ava and not wanting to further implicate himself, Nicholas Cassadine observes from the rear of the room. In a final effort to change public perception, Ava's attorney Scott Baldwin releases a statement highlighting Ava's tenacity and dedication to her family. Trina Robinson, meantime, finds it difficult to control her emotions regarding Ava's trial. Trina tells Jocelyn, "She's been like a mother to me. However, if she is guilty." There is silence in the room when the jury returns. The four-person stands, and Ava holds onto the edge of the table. The defendant is found by us, the jury. The screen goes dark. What takes place next? What did Cyrus say to Lulu that made her run, and what threat made her do so? The stalker of Sasha, what is the ultimate purpose of the cryptic messages and who is sending them? Ava's opinion, will she escape punishment or be held accountable for her actions? A possible new pair is found. After Lulu Spencer returns to Port Charles, Cody Bell starts spending more time with her, which causes tensions to rise at General Hospital. Rumors of a developing romance are sparked by their common sense of humor and awareness of feeling out of place, which draws them closer. Uncomfortably, Dante Falconeri observes the growing bond. His enduring affections for Lulu make it difficult to overlook her growing intimacy with Cody, even if he has moved on with Sam McCall. Sasha Gilmore, meantime, is conflicted after noticing Cody's change in emphasis. She is appreciative of his support during her pregnancy, but she can't help but question whether his heart is calling him in a different path. Maxie Jones, always an advocate for love, gently nudges Sasha away from caring about Cody and toward her own pleasure. Sasha, you don't need a man to approve of you. You can do this. However, when Lulu and Cody look into the smuggling business connected to the haunted star, things take an unexpected turn. Their near-death experience strengthens their relationship, and Cody becomes aware that he is growing more attracted to Lulu. A potential death sentence during pregnancy. Sasha has a number of concerning symptoms as she gets used to the notion of becoming a mother, including extreme exhaustion, shortness of breath, and dizziness. Concerned about her health, Dr. T.J. Ashford requests further tests at a typical pregnancy exam. The outcomes are disastrous. Peripartum cardiomyopathy, an uncommon and deadly kind of heart failure that develops during pregnancy, is the diagnosis made for Sasha. Dr. Ashford cautions that carrying the pregnancy to term could endanger Sasha's life. Sasha tells Maxie, "I'm finally beginning to believe I can do this," with tears in her eyes. "And now I have to decide between my life and the life of my child?" Cody takes over and promises to stand by Sasha no matter what she chooses. He reminds her, "You're not alone in this," but it's obvious that the stress of the circumstance wears him down. Gladys Corbin reappears as Sasha struggles with her choice, pleading for another opportunity to be a part of her life. Sasha lets her stay despite her initial skepticism, but things get heated when Gladys proposes ending the pregnancy to save her life. Sasha is adamant, "I'm not giving up on this baby. I just need to figure out how to stay alive." A risky association. When it is discovered that Sasha's illness might not be normal, her medical crisis takes a deadly turn. While at Ferncliff, Spinelli finds evidence that someone may have tampered with her medication. The intent of Sasha's stalker, who is still at large, becomes apparent. They want Sasha gone, but why? As Cody investigates further, he finds a startling connection between Sasha's illness and the smuggling enterprise. Her prescription was manipulated by someone with ties to the smuggling network, and the evidence points to a person in Port Charles. What happens next? Lulu and Cody, will their affections strain their ties with Sasha and Dante, or will their developing bond blossom into romance? Sasha's battle for survival, is it possible for her to bring her pregnancy to term without risking her life? The identity of the stalker, who is pursuing Sasha, and how is this connected to the smuggling scheme? Rick inquires as to if she is implying that an enraged Christina sought out Ava in order to defend her father. "That's right," replies Molly, and Rick doesn't have any more questions. Then Ava is summoned to the platform. According to her, Christina was upset when she got to her suite that day. After being prompted by Rick, Ava relates that Christina became irate and insisted that she withdraw the subpoena. According to Ava, Christina threatened to bring up the supposed charges against her from the past. If she touched Christina, Rick asks. Ava acknowledges that she did, placing her hand on Christina's shoulder as she approached. Christina stumbled and fell through the window at that point, pulling back and away. She mentions that Christina fell over a man's duffel bag from a previous relationship, so she changed it out for shoes because she didn't want him to get involved. Rick inquires as to whether she intended to hurt Christina or her child. Ava cries that she would never harm a child and that, having experienced child loss herself, she would never want it on anyone. If she had any regrets about that day, Rick asks. Ava laments that a baby died when she didn't have to, and no mother should have to go through that. Rick claims he doesn't have any more queries. Christina's icy gaze is fixed on Ava. The ADA and Rick make their final remarks. According to the ADA, Ava constructed the crime scene, lied about moving the bag, closing the drapes, and interacting with an FBI agent, and she acknowledged having trouble with Christina. She maintains that Ava must be found guilty of both the baby's death and manslaughter. According to Rick, this was a tragedy, and it's normal to want to place blame when such events occur. According to Rick, nobody is always at blame. He contends that when Christina went to see Ava, she was upset, and the two of them got into a fight. Christina fell through the window after tripping over a piece of luggage during the dispute. He claims that although everything was terrible and awful, there was no criminality. He believes it's a tragedy since both parties have pondered what might have been if they had acted differently. A kid died as a result of arbitrary choices, and it would be much more awful to assign the blame incorrectly. He assures them that this was a tragedy and an accident, and that everyone must go on and get better. To discuss, the jury is sent to the jury room. They now need to hope that one of the jurors concurs with Rick, who did an excellent job, according to Ava. TJ, Molly, Christina, Dante, and Sunny leave. TJ wants to know Molly's opinion. According to her, this was a tragedy. The courtroom battle, the last defense of Rick Lansing. As Rick Lansing strode thoughtfully in front of the jury, his mind running through his final points of strategy, the atmosphere in the courtroom was charged with expectancy. The trial had been difficult, with many turns, passionate evidence, and the constant influence of public opinion. Now, however, it was time to close the case. As Molly Lansing Davis sat on the witness stand, clearly divided between her natural desire to speak the truth and her allegiance to her sister, Christina Corinthos Davis, Rick's next move was vital. After examining her face, Rick moved forward. Molly, are you saying that Christina specifically sought out Ava Jerome to defend her father in a fit of wrath? Rick's tone conveyed a challenge despite his calm voice. After a moment of hesitation and a quick glance at the stony-faced Christina, Molly nodded. She said softly, "That's right," her words lingering in the air. Although Rick's jaw tensed, he gave a brief nod. "No more questions," he murmured, returning to his table as his thoughts were already changing. Ava steps up. When Ava Jerome was called to the witness stand, the silence in the room got even more intense. Well-groomed but clearly nervous, she took her oath and sat down, her keen eyes darting across the jury before focusing on Rick. So Rick walked steadily toward Ava. "Ms. Jerome," he said calmly, "could you tell us what transpired the day Christina visited your suite?" Ava gave a shaky sigh. She said, her voice shaking but getting stronger as she went on, "Christina was upset when she arrived. Very agitated." Rick offered her a slight encouraging nod. What took place next? Recalling the heated discussion, Ava's voice rose a little as she continued. "She was yelling, demanding that I withdraw the subpoena. She said I pulled her into something she didn't want to be involved in." Rick's face stayed expressionless. "Then?" Ava stopped, her eyes sparkling with tears she hadn't yet wept. Her voice cracked as she said, "She threatened me. She said that if I didn't comply, she would bring up old charges against me, things from my past." "Have you ever touched Christina?" Leaning forward a little, Rick inquired. Ava paused and grabbed for a glass of water on the stand, her hand shaking. "Yes," she acknowledged. In an attempt to soothe her, I put my hand on her shoulder, but she retreated, and then stumbled. She went through the window and fell. The judge called for order as there was a quiet murmur in the courtroom. As he continued, Rick furrowed his brow. "She stumbled, you said. Why did she fall?" Ava admitted there was a duffel bag, one left behind by an ex. As she retreated, she stumbled over it. Then, in a panic, I moved it and put shoes in its place. I wanted no one else to become involved. Rick's tone grew softer. "Did you never plan to hurt Christina or her child, Ava?" Tears streamed down Ava's face, and her calmness broke. "Always," she cried. "I'd never harm a kid. I understand the pain of losing a child. Not even my worst enemy would experience that agony." Rick waited for the moment to pass before making his last query. "Do you regret the events of that day?" As she talked, Ava's shoulders trembled. All the days of my life, she muttered. A infant passed away when it didn't have to. That should never have to happen to a mother. Rick gave a serious nod. No more inquiries. The final argument of the ADA. The ADA stood for her closing remarks when Ava's testimony was over. She spoke in a harsh, uncompromising tone. She paced in front of them and said, "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Ava Jerome is painted in a negative light by what we've heard today. She shifted evidence, lied about the crime scene, and acknowledged manipulating details for her personal gain. She had a tumultuous past with Christina Corinthos Davis, and she killed an innocent child that day. It's more than just a tragedy. Manslaughter is what this is. Ava Jerome needs to answer for her actions." With a determined attitude, the ADA went back to her seat. Rick's last argument. Rick got up and walked up to the jury, buttoning his jacket. He spoke in a soothing, almost melancholy tone. He started by pointing to Ava and Christina and saying, "This is a tragedy. A terrible catastrophe that makes no sense. And it's human nature to find someone to blame when catastrophes like this happen. However, it is unfair to hold Ava Jerome responsible for an accident. When Christina visited Ava's suite, she was upset. Emotions were running high and words were being exchanged when Christina tripped over a duffel bag and fell through the glass. Was it awful? Indeed. Could it have been avoided? Maybe. However, was it illegal?" Rick hesitated, allowing the query to linger. That day's events were really an accident. Placing blame where none belongs won't help two heartbroken families find peace or closure. It will just make the suffering worse. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, so please don't forget to subscribe my channel and don't miss any update.